Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Adult Child of Dysfunction. Today, we have with us a very special guest. We have Deepak Chari. He helps women and men release hidden emotional blocks from stress, anxiety, and past emotional experiences with an advanced voice biofeedback technology so they can feel calm, confident, empowered, and free. He is the co founder of the Chari Center of Health, an engineer and certified biofeedback specialist and the creator of his life transformation technology program with advanced voice biofeedback to promote emotional healing, mental clarity, and peak performance. Welcome, Deepak.
Thank you for having me, Tammy.
Yes, this is fun. I actually am really interested because you've been doing this for a long time and I do a bioresonance feedback thing as well. So I want to hear all about yours because apparently you've been doing this forever. So how did you get into this? How did you get into the biofeedback
Yeah,
realm?
it's a very interesting story. It all started from my childhood when I was about 7 or 8 years old. My parents came from India and in the early 60s, and I was first generation kid born, my sister too. But when I was growing up as a kid, I was bullied as a kid, pushed around, intimidated, all that kind of thing, by narcissistic bullying kind of people. So my escape was, okay, I gotta hide somewhere. So my escape was hiding in the library.
Mhm.
So I would just hide there in different aisles and just, try to avoid these kinds of bullies. So while I was there, I said, well, I got to do something to occupy my time. So I would just grab seemingly random books from the shelf. Well,
Mm-hmm.
those books didn't seem to be so random because the books I grabbed happened to be on the law of attraction by W. Clement Stone, Napoleon Hill, As a Man Thinketh, How to Win Friends and Influence People, How to Improve Your Self-Confidence, all kinds of things that I definitely needed at the time to boost my confidence to deal with these bullies and to deal with the outer world. So that I kept reading those, and I didn't realize I was imprinting my subconscious with these positive thoughts.
Right.
So over the years, I kept doing this because I kept getting bullied, all throughout my elementary school, then even into my junior high, and then high school. Though it shifted into a different kind of bullying. From being pushed around and intimidated, it shifted into, well, who are you? Which class do you fit in? Well, you don't fit in any of ours, so you're on your own. In fact, so I was literally alone. This was in junior high and high school. Then I thought, well, okay, when I'm 18, this immature bullying thing will stop, and then I'll have regular kind of people to deal with. Well, what I found out is it didn't stop. It was a pattern I was carrying, as I'll explain shortly. So then I drew all kinds of mean friends, narcissistic, condescending, manipulative, controlling, gaslighting, every name in the book, um, friends, relationships, bosses, supervisors. And so I decided to be an engineer because my father was an engineer. That's it. So I went to the dean of engineering college when I was 18 or so, 18, 19. I said, I would like to be an engineer. I thought he's going to say, sure, I'll help motivate you. And he said to me, you know, I don't know if you have what it takes. I think you would be better suited in the building on the other side of campus. He was kind of vague, but I knew exactly what building he's talking about. I said, well, that building that you're talking about is the theater department. So are you trying to say that I should be an actor instead of an engineer? He goes, well, and he kind of lifted his eyebrows like, like basically yes, right? So I was a rebellious 18-year-old, having gone through all this bullying all these years. So I said, I'm going to show you, you're not going to stop me from being an engineer, that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I got my bachelor's degree, and then I said, I'm going to show you even more. I'm going to get my master's degree. So so I kept doing that. Now, all throughout this time, I was drawing horrible classmates, friendships, bosses, supervisors, because I was working part-time to pay for the schooling. And then I thought, wow, this doesn't seem to be ending, does it? Maybe it's just how my life is. So going back to my childhood again, when we were growing up, I used to give blood pressure medicines and other medications to my father who had different like blood pressure issues. The doctor said this will be perfect for him. So I kept doing that. But then suddenly at the age of 51, he suddenly died of a massive heart attack. So my mom was a young widow with two teenage kids. And we thought, my sister and I looked at each other and we said, why did this happen? How did this happen? And I wonder in the future, could we prevent this from happening to anyone else? So fast forward in time, I'm working as an engineer in the field after I graduated, right? And my sister and I decided to form a partnership and form the Chari Center of Health, our last name, in tribute to our father who passed away suddenly, and trying to find a solution for what he went through. So my sister became a medical doctor, but instead of just practicing regular medicine, she wanted to practice integrative functional medicine or natural
Nice.
medicine, natural solution. So she started working on person after person till hundreds of people went by and they were getting amazing results. Now I was working engineer in the field and I was inspired by what she was doing. And I said, I'm managing the business with her, but I'm not actually working in the business. And I think this is more exciting than this engineering work that I was doing for improving productivity, efficiency, quality control in different industries. It was more of a company versus a person. I said, if she's changing a person's life, it's changing all the people they're with too. So I said, but I don't have a medical degree. So this is where that law of attraction books that I read as a kid fits in. It's just like a puzzle. So I said, universe, can you somehow help me and guide me to somehow work in our center and heal people in some way? Because I don't have a medical degree. With my engineering background, it was that vague.
Hmm.
So what's interesting, I detached from it. I kind of forgot about it. I didn't know that's called detaching from the outcome. So then a couple weeks later, some friends came up to me and said, Deepak, this guy's going to be speaking in Santa Monica, California, about how your voice reveals everything that's holding you back in your life, your limiting beliefs, negative thoughts, negative emotions, self-sabotage patterns, guilt, shame, regret. Uh, it can reveal all of that from your voice, from your subconscious. But most importantly, how certain frequencies and harmonics of sound and proprietary scalar waves and technologies could be sent back to that person to release those limiting patterns quickly and easily, regardless of how long they've had those patterns. So I go, wow, that sounds interesting. But as I was in the presentation, listening to him, all these light bulbs went on. The first light bulb was, wait a minute, this is technical. I have a technical background. Didn't I tell the universe about working in our center? This seems like a match. Second, wait a minute, I've had this bullying pattern my whole life. Could that be a program that I was downloaded somehow? So I went up to him afterwards and I said, I would like to apprentice with you. He says, okay, you'll be one of the last few people I take because I'm only doing a handful of people. So I was in the right place at the right time without also realizing. So I was trained by him. He watched me in the trenches as I worked on people with depression, anxiety, fears, emotional trauma, addictions, whatever it was, and clearing them. He said, I think you've got it down. I said, great. Then I said, wait a minute, I have an engineering degree. I'm always improving efficiency and productivity in companies. Why don't I do it for what he even taught me? So I streamlined things, made it faster, made it more efficient and more eloquent and quicker. And then I was getting amazing results. And that's what I called my life transformation technology program because it was a unique version of what he taught, but much more eloquent and faster. So I said, you know what? Before I work on a single person in our center, let me work on myself to see if I can clear this pattern. And guess what? I started working myself. I felt sudden relief and I felt like I think something shifted. Well, I still had all those narcissistic, mean, condescending, manipulative people in my life and bullying people in my life. But they suddenly started not wanting to be around me anymore. They wanted to avoid me as much as possible. Then I thought, okay, these are horrible people, but I guess I'm losing them. They don't want to be around me. But that's okay because soon after, I drew wonderful, nurturing, loving, caring, supportive people. And Tammy, I had no clue what that even is. What is a loving, nurturing? Because I never saw that my whole life. But I drew these people into my life. And this is what I want to share with their listeners and viewers that even though you haven't had that in your own life, you don't even know what that's like to not have those feelings of anxiety or fear, depression, or whatever it is, and or loving relationships, you can have it. Because I
Hmm.
did it with myself. That's why I wanted to share that. So I started drawing this wonderful people in my life. I said, my gosh, I want people to experience what I did. Because it's like the movie The Matrix, for those of your audience who've seen it, where it's a program you've been dealt. It's not something that you live with permanently. And once you release it, you can have everything you wanted, just like they were programming Neo. Morpheus was programming Neo. So I started working on tons, one person at a time, till literally thousands of people all over the US and world. But it started with my own journey of being bullied.
Yeah. And it usually, honestly, it usually does. Most of us healers and therapists and doctors and coaches, and we all did it because we had that issue and we're like, oh my gosh. And you probably got to a point once you did it with your own journey, you were like, wow, I can make this so much quicker. Like I don't even know how many different modalities I tried because I grew up with two alcoholic parents, drug addicted mom, the whole thing where honestly, and I talk about it a lot on this podcast, dysfunction is dysfunction. So whether you're bullied or your parents were homeless or whatever it is, you grow up with those, like you said, this programming that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I must be doing something wrong, all of that, what I call crap, which you can undo, but it takes the right tools. And that's kind of, I mean, that's why we do what we do. All the tools that I threw at the wall trying to get stuff to stick, I now have such a toolbox. But talk about the biofrequency resonance scan. Is there a particular one you use, or is it yours, or talk about that?
So it's based on when I work with the clients, it's all done remotely from the comfort of their home. I used to have an in-office practice, but then I became virtual because I could help so many more people this way. And so I'm not limited by location. So the person is basically sitting at their computer, and there's an software app they download to their computer. What they need is a headset with a swing down mic. I found the USB headset captures the voice very accurately, and then the software. And we do our sessions through Zoom. So I listen to their voice talking about the challenge they're going through, whatever it is, anxiety, fears, phobias, emotional trauma, depression, addiction, whatever it is. And then I captured the energy of their voice, and it indicates to me whether it's a high or extreme level emotional pattern. Now, either one is important to address. If it doesn't have that charge, it's not an issue. But so basically, I work step by step by harmonizing what's within them. For example, think of it to explain the concept of how this works, the technical aspect. We have 60 trillion, let's say we have 60 trillion cells in our body. Imagine every cell in our body has a keyboard. And by the way, just to tell your audience, when we speak, I used to always think, oh, I'm just speaking with my vocal cords, right? No, that is not true. When you speak with every single cell of your body, all 60 trillion cells at the same time, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. You're speaking with every aspect of your being, including the limiting aspects as well. Okay? So that's what's captured. Now, that keyboard within us that each of us has in each of our cells, okay? Now, what happened is the science of this work is based on basically 100 years of data is that if different emotions, different limiting emotions, anger, depression, fears, phobias, emotional trauma, squash different notes of that internal keyboard. So basically, I don't hear all the notes of your keyboard that I should if you have those different emotions. If you had anger, certain keys won't be heard. If you have sadness, certain keys won't be heard. Fear, overwhelm, certain notes won't be heard. I don't feel good enough. I'm not worthy of being loved. Different notes. So based on what I don't hear in your voice, those are the frequencies I will send to you. This is called a process called sympathetic resonance. Here's an example. You have two pianos next to each other. I'm not touching the second piano at all, but I hit the note A on piano. I hit the note A on piano 1. The note A on piano 2 will resonate. The key won't go down, but the string behind it will vibrate. But how? I didn't touch it. That's called sympathetic resonance. Like energies resonate like energies. See a theme with the law of attraction. So the thing is, if that note is stuck, let's say I don't hear that note in their voice because maybe they had that emotional depression or anxiety or grief or whatever it is, I will reverse engineer it. What that means is I will resonate that stuck note to play, even though it hasn't played in 10 years, 20 years. In one lady's case, I worked with 65 years. And even though it never played in all those life, meaning she had that depression for so many years, I can reverse engineer by getting that key to play. And whatever emotion, in this case, grief, was sitting on that note, can't coexist in a harmonized environment. So when that note starts to play, that emotion will naturally want to lift out of that person. It's almost like a hotel that has unwanted guests and they realize, well, these people are not paying guests. I think we're going to have to vacate them because it's not a harmonized environment. Those are not harmonizing thoughts. So they'll just want to leave as
And
quickly
for
as
the
possible.
and I'm gonna just say something real
Please.
quickly for the people listening. I'm gonna kind of interject every once in a while.
Yeah.
That's why we say always, if there's a suppressed emotion, if there's something that's eating away at you, you have to get it out of your body. And this is just another tool to get it out of your body. I had somebody that did an AO scan that I have, and literally she said, Tammy, I listened to the harmonics for the final note, which is your suppressed emotion one. She goes, I don't even know what I was listening to, but in 3 minutes, like the tears just started rolling down my face in a happy way. And I was like, that's what this does. That's magical, absolutely magical. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Exactly, exactly. And that also happens with this work as well. They might come in kind of in a neutral way, but they're severely depressed, for example. That's very common. But then that's at the start of the session. But then as I start doing the session, suddenly all these tears will just flow out. And that person didn't even know how to release those emotions or even know that they were in them, even though it was very clear to me they were. Because someone can talk to me in a normal voice and say, Deepak, I think I have a little bit of this I want to address and all that. And what I will pick up, and now that I've been doing it for 20 years, I can even hear it before the computer even plots it, is that, oh, I said, can you tell me what you're very angry about? And actually, it'll show severe rage. I didn't say I was angry about something. I said, well, do you mind just, I've been doing this for a little while. Do you mind just go, it's okay. What are you angry about? Okay, you want to know the truth? My
Yep.
boyfriend broke up with me 2 weeks ago, okay? And I was fired from my job another week. That was unfair. That was wrong. That was unjust. And I was like, okay, all right, I
Right.
get you. So you see what I'm getting at? So in other words, you might suppress the emotions, but the emotions are still there. So absolutely, you're correct. 100%. You ultimately have to face those things you don't want to face, those emotions that are within you, and connect to those.
Exactly. Can you talk a little bit about, I know you know, what you're feeling right now, or even buried 20, 30, like you said, could be buried decades, those suppressed emotions. What about
Absolutely.
the ancestral healing? How does that tie in?
Ah, great
That's,
question.
yeah,
Great lead in. So I have found in doing this work, your listeners may find that interesting. There are four phases that we all go through, whether we like it or not, but this is what we go through. It's important for everyone to understand this too. When your parents decide to procreate you, and I'm being kind of blunt here about this, when your parents decide to procreate you, let's have a child, they say. Okay, they start having procreating you. But what's happening is in that moment that they're procreating you, every thought, feeling, and emotion in that moment also get downloaded. For example, if your father was saying, God, I'm not really happy where I am in my life right now, in my career, I should have been much further. Those people ahead of me, boy, they just manipulated, they're way ahead of me. That wasn't fair. I have a traumatic childhood. I still haven't gotten over that. I'm in a relationship with this woman, which I'm not very in love with at all. I just want to leave probably, but I'm kind of stuck right now. Okay, that's what's going into the mix, by the way. And what if the woman also is like, well, I was hoping for someone better than this man. It's not exactly what I hoped for, and I hope it works out, but it hasn't been so good so far. That all gets into the mix. Into now, this little you who's being born is just a teeny little energy. But all this, and your clean hard drive, you go to the store, you buy a brand new laptop, there's nothing on it. That's you. Except this part that I'm describing in phase one, that's in your energy field, okay? So you're picking up on that. But then you go into phase two. What's phase two? You're in your mom's womb for 9 months. Whatever she's thinking, feeling, emoting, whatever's going on within her is direct download to you. What if she's fighting with your dad? What if she's unhappy in her life? She wanted to be a jet setter around the world, and now she's like, no, I'm stuck with this kid. You know what? I didn't know I was going to get pregnant. I didn't want to be pregnant. Now I'm kind of, my career is done with. What is the kid going to get the message? I wasn't wanted. I should have never been born. Did the parent tell them directly? Not necessarily. They'll pick up the energy. So that goes right into the kid. What if the parents are fighting? The kid's right in the middle. Hey, I hear you guys fighting. I know what's going on, okay? Yeah, you're not aware of it, but I hear everything. That's phase two. That's already two phases, and you're not even born yet. What happens now is the next phase. What's that? Phase three. Now you're born into the world. But when you're born into the world, now you have the direct interface with those parents and or grandparents or people older than us, like uncles, aunts, teachers, and other people like that who are telling us things, and we're absorbing like a sponge. I found in my all my research from age 0 to 7, whatever is said or done in those years, no matter how insane or crazy it is, you accept it as the gospel truth. You don't question it. And I found even the second phases from 8 to 12, 13, you kind of question a little bit, but pretty much go, yeah, that's probably true. I'm probably not worthy of love. I don't deserve much. And I have actual case studies of parents who have told this kid, you know what? We failed with you. You don't have the talent that we had. Why couldn't you have been taller? Why couldn't you have been more smarter, intelligent? Look at that girl. Did you see that girl across the street? Look how talented she is. Look how straight she walks. Look how smart she is. Look how beautiful she is. Why couldn't you have been like that? Why can't you even be like her? What's the message? I'm not good enough as I am. I have to be like somebody else, right? Um, or even what's another parent told the son? you're not going to be, I don't feel you're going to be more than a ditch digger in your whole life. Can I believe that they actually told us? No, but these are actual case studies. So those go into your DNA. Now you have phase four. Well, what's phase four? That's three. Phase four is when you take phase one, two, and three, which I just discussed with you, and incorporate that in your own life and duplicate those same patterns that your parents and grandparents did into your own life unconsciously, not even being aware of it. The relationships you draw, the situations you get into, they're not just some random things that happen. Believe me, we are actually creating that, believe it or not. So then we also transfer that into our kids' lives. And then our kids do the same thing. So in answer to your question, that's how these ancestral patterns work. So this life transformation technology program, all the things I went through in my life, actually clears those four phases. So now you're liberated. You can fly out of this repeating pattern like a rocket ship into a whole new uncharted territory for yourself and then even for your kids' lives too.
It's amazing. And it's funny because I think back, I mean, my parents were, like I said, they were both alcoholics. I was told all my life I was hated, I was not worthy, all that stuff. So I worked through all that stuff. But one of the things that really I had to work through, one of the most, and the frequencies has really helped, is
Yeah.
my father trying to do the right thing, but apologizing to me one day. And he said, Tammy, you ever heard of like the law of proximity? And so, like and the whole concept, and this came from one of those self-help books, is that the people that you are around the most, the average of the sum of the people that you're around the most is who you are going to become. And he said, this is just the way life works. And I am so sorry that I never got you in front of the right people to be successful. That dug so deep, and like it took me years because I was like, wow, like he doomed me to failure, even though he was trying to be kind. And that was like the perfect example because my whole life I kept thinking, oh, I just can't. And, now it's like when I was up on stage shaking hands with Jack Canfield, who wrote and sold what, 500 million books. I was like, okay, I can. Like, I can get in front of the right people. But it took a long time to undo that one comment. It's,
Absolutely. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. And then later on in life, he said that to you. Yeah, that is. That's the interesting thing, I found like with this work I do with people, even though the parents were just horrible with the kids, just terrible, when I start doing this work on those people, suddenly there's a shift even in the parents, even though they have no idea that I'm working on their kids who are now adults. They have no idea and wouldn't probably even understand it at all. But they started saying, you know what? I don't know why I acted like that when you were a kid. I'm sorry. I was acting like this. I noticed that happens with a lot of these people I work with. And the person's like, Deepak, you're not going to believe what my parents said the other day. They were like apologizing to me suddenly. And they've never done that my whole life after we did this work. So that's the neat thing. It has a global kind of effect there.
and
And
it
and of
does.
course, yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, no, and I was going to say just those frequencies of them having your as a client having a different attitude and putting out a different energy when they're with that parent, they're getting that. Like they're getting that whole idea and they're feeling that and what you gave so many good examples and I'm sure the people out there listening are thinking just so much. It's another good example is I have a friend who they fought all the time when she was pregnant and this is a perfect example and I love that you brought up all these things. You gave so many things for people to process and to think about. But they fought all the time. And she would go in and she would listen to like a certain music when they were fighting to kind of try to calm herself down. Well, when she was born, when that baby, if she put that music on, that baby would freak out, probably because it was feeling the energy of the fight, not the calming part of it. It was like, oh my God, the music's on, there must be a fight. And it was like that calming music freaked her baby out. And she was like, I don't understand. And I said, did you listen to that music when you were fighting with your husband? She's like, yeah. I said, that's why. It heard
Yeah.
the husband, it heard all of that going on, and it absorbed that tension when you turn that music on. And she was like, wow. But it really is so true that we feel it all in that womb. Mm, powerful.
Yes. Exactly. And even if the person doesn't remember what happened in the womb, Your subconscious remembers every sight, smell, taste, sound, and emotion in every quadrillionth or fraction of a second since you were born. So when I do this process, we track it back, 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 back. And even if they're not even aware what happens, those emotions from those events that were suppressed, like you said in the womb, will start releasing. So that's the neat thing. It's an eloquent process, just like what you're doing. So with the work I'm doing here. Um, can I share one quick example of one of a client?
I love
Um,
it. Yes.
because it'll inspire your listeners and viewers. I worked on a lady who was on 30 years of antidepressant medications. But before that, she was a woman who was so passionate about life, painting, singing, dancing, um, and swimming and just like working out, taking care of herself and trying to look good and all that kind of thing. She really cared about. She was like that kind of a person. But unfortunate relationships happen in her life that because of childhood patterns that she drew into her life over and over again, which made her kind of lose hope and optimism for life. And she started getting depressed. So she went to a certain approach where she was taking antidepressant medications, and it had 30 years had gone by. But guess what? The moment she started doing that, all her mojo for dancing, painting, singing, doing all these wonderful artistry, all those things just went flat. So she somehow found out about my work and she came to see me and she said, Deepak, I just lost all my passion for life and maybe that's how my life is. And, but I don't know what happened. Is there anything you could do to help me? I said, because I'm not invested in her situation, I could see the whole forest and trees. So I started clearing these imprints and patterns and she started feeling better and better. And she goes, Deepak, I'm wondering, do you think I could get off my antidepressant medications? I said, well, I'm an engineer and biofeedback specialist. I'm not a medical doctor. But go talk to your doctor. Ask him, just say, I'm feeling pretty good. She did. He goes, well, let's lower it by 20%, thinking like she's probably going to have to go back on it again and just see, to be safe, as he said. So she lowers 20%. She goes, Deepak, I'm still feeling over the top. Fantastic. I said, well, ask him again. Okay, maybe 50%. I'm not used to this kind of thing. Okay, 50%. She was still feeling great. Then 75%, then 100%. She still was on top of the world. Then guess what? As she was going off, she got her mojo back, even as she was decreasing it bit by bit. She went back to painting, singing, music, dancing, creativity, writing dramas, plays, everything under the sun. She got her full mojo back. She felt great about herself. But here's another cool thing besides that, getting off all of that, the medication. Her friend, who she hadn't seen in 30 years, she suddenly just, her friend decides to pop in and see her. She goes, why? My gosh, I haven't seen you in 30 years. But she goes, oh my gosh, putting her hands to her face. I don't believe this. She said, what? What do you mean? You look the same as when I saw you 30 years ago. Okay, who's your plastic surgeon? Oh, no, what it is, I went to this guy named Deepak. He's an advanced voice biofeedback specialist engineer. And whoa, no, what's his name? I told you, Deepak. Yeah, he did a great job on your face. Look at that. Yeah, he's good. I want to sign up with him. She didn't hear a word this lady was saying that I'm about voice. So that the reason I tell your listeners and viewers this is because this is what I was thinking. I was like, I didn't even know about this part of it, the reverse aging aspect, because I was just working on releasing emotions. But apparently, you're going back to a time before you had the weight of those emotions
Hmm.
weighing you down,
Hmm.
literally. Even though you can't weigh it on a weighing scale, those emotions, they are having a physical weight on your body. So when I released all of those, everything kind of
Lift it up.
elasticity kind of popped up. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. I didn't even know about that, but that also is there too.
Well, and think about just the physiological damage that all of those suppressed emotions are doing on your nervous system, which is going through your vagus nerves. I mean, there's all kinds of science behind that, as far as it's affecting
Correct.
every organ. So you're not detoxifying, you're not resting, you're not doing anything when you're in chronic stress, period. Literally, your
Exactly.
body is just surviving.
Exactly.
But
And another follow-up to that is that a lot of people will say, Deepak, now that you worked on me, I don't have those digestive issues anymore. I said,
mhm.
ma'am, you never even told me anything about your digestive issues the whole time I've been working on you. Oh, didn't I though? No, you didn't. I didn't know you had severe bloating, gas, indigestion, constipation. You're just now telling me, but that it's gone now. Oh, I
Mm.
thought I did. Some other people said, oh, that pain in all my neck and shoulders is totally gone now that I had all. Remember I told you about that? I said, no, you never mentioned a word about any of that. It's like,
but
thank you
it's
for
gone.
telling me. Yeah, yeah, but it's gone. Yeah. So on and on, like in other physical issues too, because as we said, we're a mental, emotional, physical, spiritual being. So one aspect affects every other aspect too.
Exactly. And I tell people, you have to fix body, mind, and spirit. You can't do just one because they are just all so interconnected. But this is, I mean, such a powerful tool. I wish people understood. Like, I want to get up on the rooftop and shake them and be like, you don't understand. It's so powerful just to, people go, oh, that's my, oh, it's my neck or it's this vertebrae. Well, yeah, that runs right down into your gallbladder, believe it or not. I mean, it's all connected. And I know people go, oh, that's just woo. Literally, these frequencies, they have watched shrink tumors. I mean, they have watched
Mhm.
frequencies do absolutely amazing, magical things. And it's just something else to explore. So I tell people, look at it with an open mind. Like you do a 15-minute consultation, doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt to try these things because the first time someone did one on me and he said to me, oh, yeah, that little thing you're feeling around your eye, that little aura you see around your eye, that's probably from your stroke. And I looked at him and I said, first of all, I didn't tell you I had a stroke. Second of all, I didn't tell you I had a black aura around my eye. And he said, oh, this thing did. If you know how to read it, it was like, it was just crazy. And whoa, some people go, ooh, that's woo. I don't understand all how it works. You've been doing it for 20 years, but I don't understand how electricity works. And I use it every day and I embrace it and I love it and I pay for it every month.
Exactly, exactly. When you go in your car, you're driving someone over, they don't say, "Oh, Deepak, before you drop me off, can you explain how the carburetor works, how the spark plug ignites the ignition, and how, I just want to know before I get out of the car." No one ever says that. They
No,
just want you, just take me from point A to point B. That's all I want,
get me
right?
there. Yep, get me
Yeah,
there. And this is a tool that can get them there. That is awesome. Awesome,
absolutely.
awesome. So talk about how people can reach you if they want to reach you, work with you, get the free 15-minute consultation. Everything will be in the show notes, but tell them the best place to go.
Absolutely. For anyone who wants to talk with me for a no obligations conversation, so I can hear about your story, what the challenges you went through, because I can offer you a solution, which I customize for every person. I offer a 50-minute complimentary consult, as Tammy mentioned. You can go to my website, which is www.fastanxietyhelp.com, and I'll spell it for them. www.fast, fast, anxiety, ANXIETY, and then help, HELP, fastanxietyhelp.com. Go to that website. Check out, my work of what I do. Check out the testimonials tab, especially, so you can kind of connect to like, wow, I can connect to this person for what they went through. Because I worked on people from age 18 to 90, from people all over the US and world. And then you can also schedule a complimentary 15-minute consult with me. And then we can talk, no obligations, so we can just share with each other like what's going on.
Sounds great. So for the listeners out there, if he's offering you this, it is so beneficial, so enlightening, and just so informative. I would hope you take him up on it. So thank you so much, Deepak, for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Tammy. It's such a pleasure to be on your show.
You are very welcome. And before you go, you're not quite off the hook. If you had to give people one big message from you, what would it be?
Okay. I know a lot of your viewers and listeners have gone through a lot of struggles and challenges emotionally, physically, and all kinds of issues in their life. I just wanted to share with them, regardless of what you've went through, there is hope for you, yes. You can live a life full of joy, happiness, peace, and vibrant health. Yes, you can. I'm here to tell you that. I've done it with thousands of people. I can do it with you too. We do it one step at a time. All you have to do is be open to the process and it will work. You can have the life you dreamed of, even if you never had it before. That's why I shared my story as being bullied. I didn't know I could have even a better life. I thought that's how my life is. But no, I found it, everything shifted when I cleared those patterns. You can too. That's what I want to share with your viewers and listeners.
Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. So, for everybody else out there listening, you heard it. That's Deepak Chari, and you can have that life that you so, so deserve. Someone blew that light out in you, but it is there for the taking. You just have to have the tools to let go of all the patterns that are making you not believe that you are worth having the most absolute joyous and beautiful life. So we will see you back next week. Thank you very much.